All right, so moving on to our next speaker. Joining us next is the vibrant and radiant Luisa. Luisa is an international passion ambassador, motivational speaker, coach, lightworker, mother, warrior, and dreamer. As the host of Passion Harvest through her revolutionary Find, Follow, Feel method, and through her intuitive gift, reading energetic soul blueprints, Luisa has a unique talent in helping us find alignment with our most empowered selves and unlocking the ability to live a life beyond our wildest dreams. One of my favorite stories I've heard Luisa tell is the profound awakening she experienced because of a single leaf that had fallen from a tree. You see, like many of us, Luisa was working in a role that wasn't aligned with her passions, and she felt the drain on her soul. One day, while out walking in nature and feeling fulfilled by the peaceful surroundings, she found a leaf, picked it up, and put it next to the computer in her office to remind her of that blissful moment. About a month later, she left that role, and as she was packing up her office, she found that very same leaf, but now it was shriveled and dying. She knew if she had stayed in that role, she would have become that dying leaf. Luisa was instantly overcome with gratitude and excitement for the beautiful sign that leaving this role to pursue her own passions was in true alignment with her soul's purpose. And now she is on a mission to help people around the world also step into their passion and their purpose. Today, Luisa will share with us how freedom and passion is within each of us. She believes that this is our birthright, and no matter what your stories can be rewritten. She has famously said, "Listen with your eyes, see with your ears, taste with your heart, and feel with your words." Today, Luisa will take us on a journey as together we trust, jump, and free fall into our new 5D reality. Please join me in welcoming Luisa. It's such an honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Naza. What a beautiful introduction. I'm thinking now, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about? You've just about said everything for me.
Sorry, I told all your stories.
No, it's fine.
It was just so touching and moving to me. And
Oh.
I love the radiant energy that you always bring. So I'm really looking forward to your talk today.
Thank you. Now I'm just thinking, what am I going to talk about? But I'm sure I'll work it out in 30 minutes. Some of the speakers, by the way, have been amazing. So I encourage everyone to go and look. It's been really inspirational.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, take it away, Luisa.
Okay. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Since this is a show about moving to a 5D reality, I just wanted to explain from my experience what moving to a 5D reality is. It is a higher vibrational level of consciousness, a higher vibrational experience. At the moment, we are in the process of moving from the fourth dimension, which in scientific terms is width, length, and breadth, plus time. But moving to the fifth dimensional reality is exactly the same, except there's no beginning and end of time. So time doesn't move in a linear construct or a linear fashion, if in very simple terms. The other thing about the fifth dimensional reality is that it is the fourth spatial dimension. So that is related to the heart chakra. So if you can imagine what the fifth dimension is like working from the heart chakra, it's about love, it's about hope, it's about kindness, it's about karma, it's about synchronicity. And manifestation, time moves much quicker. I often didn't understand what these dimensions were. And I've thought for a while that it was moving to some far off, beautiful Garden of Eden universe, but it actually is here. It's just a different level of a different layer of what we're on. Some of us are ready to move in this lifetime, and some of us are ready to move in other lifetimes or many other lifetimes. And that is part of our soul's journey and part of our energetic soul's blueprint. if you're thinking, how do I move to the fifth dimensional reality from the heart chakra, or what are the signs of moving to the fifth dimension? I would say it's about walking more consciously, walking more aware. From my personal, well, this is a segment about me, but from my personal experience, moving to the fifth dimension is basically moving to a high vibrational frequency, a frequency of love, a frequency of wanting to be of service to other people, a frequency of understanding synchronicities and learning to love yourself, all of yourself, realizing that time is speeding up. And for me, a very couple of pivotal moments, which I was going to talk about, is that time is really an illusion. In our humanness, we think of time as the passing of events, but there really is no time. And my belief is that the past, the present, and the future has already occurred. While we are able in every moment to accelerate or decelerate our timelines based on our vibrational frequency, and the quickest way to do this is to look at our emotional guidance system. I often say to my clients, I envision it, we're on like a train track. So when we're happy and joyful, we know that the next moment of the train's journey, or our journey of life, is going to be happy and is going to be more positive, and we create experiences that come into our reality that are more of a positive nature. If we are more have a tendency to be negative, we can almost guarantee that potentially our next moment is not going to be the happiest. In each moment, we choose our joy, and each moment we choose our suffering. And while suffering is a part of life, and the power of suffering is pivotal in our soul's growth and our soul's evolution, and I have the firm belief that we do choose our blueprint, we do choose our suffering, we do choose our sorrows, and we do choose our joys prior to coming to this life, or my life as Luisa. I really do believe I've chosen just about everything that I wanted to experience with myself and with my soul family. I'm digressing here a little bit, but I just wanted to say, because I often get asked this question, in my opinion, I believe we come here to this life to learn, to grow. I liken it like a library, because many people say, why would we want to come back to this life of suffering? And this does relate to the 5D as well, because it's moving to a high vibrational frequency. But if you can imagine our life and our lives, many lives, some people say we can reach a point where we no longer need to come back to our humanness or our physical body, our vehicle that carries our soul. When we reach a certain level of enlightenment, some people say it could be 3 lifetimes, many say it could be thousands, hundreds of thousands. And if you liken it, I liken it to a library. We come to the library of life, and we choose a book, we choose our novel to read. And why would you want to read a book? Because it helps you learn, it helps you grow, it helps you understand universal truths. And the problem is, to accelerate to a 5D earth, is if you can learn from the book and take note of some of the phrases and the pivotal points that were important to you, and move on, but not hold them so close to your heart, not hold them so emotional, realizing that they were an experience, and they were just an experience. You know, we so often get caught up in the what isness, or the reality that we see, not often realizing that it's just a story. It's our story that we choose to create for ourselves. So if we can learn the lessons from these books, we can become the navigator of our life, the narrator of our story, and we can choose another book from the library, potentially in the same lifetime. And if we can learn the lessons from these books, we open the library to more books that are available to us. I say to people, it's time to move on. It's time to learn the lesson and move on, and not hold on to past hurts and sorrows, and not live in the past, because you don't want to read and reread and reread the same book over and over again. And when we can learn and grow and take on a new book and take on a new novel or an essay or an academic essay, whatever your soul chooses, we can then create a new life for ourselves. And we can slowly move to a 5-dimensional reality in the 4th spatial dimension of the heart chakra. And my journey, it's not always been easy. It's not all marshmallows and fairies, but there's no going back once you have seen the seen can't be unseen. And it's a very different way of living. It's a conscious walking consciously and treading consciously. And I really understood that now with the differentiation of time. I talked about it in my little mini segment and had a few comments about it. Moving to a higher vibrational frequency. Basically, it means the DNA, the RNA, the cells of your body are the molecules are moving at a faster rate around a nucleus. Really, it often takes a lot longer for matter to catch up to energy or form to catch up to thought. So our bodies are a little bit slower. The density of our bodies are certainly slower than our thoughts and our minds. But it was really real to me when I started experiencing future memories, and I call it future memories because they are so real and they're so alive, and it's probably more real than I'm talking to you now. And it happened at random points during my day. It occurred about 1.5 years ago, and the first time it happened, I was walking through a park as Luisa, and all of a sudden my body was basically my soul was transported to another dimension of time. I knew it was Luisa. I have had past lives, and it's very different. And I define the future memories of a series or a set of circumstances that has occurred in the future, as we like to term it in our humanness. And so I wake up, I've experienced that I'm in a car and I'm driving very fast. It's dark. There's a lot of trees moving past me. I know I'm Luisa. I know I'm a soul. And there's a man next to me. I don't see his physical body. I see his soul. And the first time it happened, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm being abducted. What's happening to me? And I looked out and I realized I was kind of safe. And then I went back to walking as Luisa in my everyday life. This happened about 6 or 7 times over a period of 8 months. I couldn't choose to do this. I was vibrationally sent there. This is what I call a future memory. I saw myself in the future and I knew it to be true. And I now have come, and I'll continue with the story, but really fundamentally important, I've now come to the conclusion that we can't imagine or believe anything unless we know the vibration of it. I can't transport myself anywhere to any place, time, thing unless I know the vibration of it, whether in the past, the present, or the future. So each time I'm in the car, this happens at random intervals, whether I'm meditating or sending an email, and it happens in a split second. I don't know. Maybe I should have timed it. It happened in about 30 seconds, but it could have gone on for an hour or 2 hours. In our time now, there was a lack of time. There was no time. There was nothing. It just is what is. And I continued traveling the car. Sometimes the window would be open and I'd look out at the darkness and I'd see the trees swishing by. And I just remember singular moments. Turning on a radio, looking down at my hands were clasped, and I held this man's hand next to me. He was a soul, so it was just the energetic body. But little things like that I remember very vividly. And then one day we arrived at the house. I knew it was in Europe. I didn't know where it was. And I realized we were going home. And then for the next 6 months, this sounds kind of bizarre. Well, nothing's bizarre in this show. I was a soul in this house and I positioned myself in a cupboard. And even though I was in the cupboard, I was all seeing and all knowing. I could be anywhere in the house. And I saw this man. He was looking for me. He was calling out to my soul. knowing that I was to come. And I called this man Edward. I knew his name wasn't Edward, but often we like to assign names to spirit guides or ghosts or things. So I called him Edward. And I consciously knew that this man was a man alive in my lifetime. And I consciously also knew that his soul knew I was there, but he wouldn't know that I had been visiting him. Again, I couldn't choose to be transported there. It just happened. And he would call me, and he didn't hear me. And then one day, after about 8 months and about 8 to 10 visitations to this big house, he came into the cupboard where I was and he saw me. If we had eyes, we would have locked eyes, but we didn't have eyes. We were just a soul, an energetic blueprint. And I knew then that he'd seen me and he would come and find me in this lifetime as Luisa. It's still utterly bizarre to me. And the next approximately six times, I would be transported to the house. And each time this happened, he would be sleeping. He'd be lying on the bed and I would kiss him on the cheek and I'd say, Edward, come and find me, knowing that I wouldn't be able to physically find him in this lifetime. Then one day I received an email. I received lots of beautiful emails, especially from my interviews. And there was a man who said, I've had a near-death experience. I'd love to talk to you. I don't want to be interviewed for your show, but I would love to tell you about my experiences. And he said, I want to help you on your quest. And I thought, oh, how presumptuous. I don't think I have a quest, but I do believe in synchronicities. And I just interviewed a lady who spoke about the quest for the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail is the quest for universal understanding, true love, true meaning of life. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to reply to him and agree to have a Zoom meeting in a week and he can tell me his stories and help me on my quest. That night I went to sleep and I didn't sleep the whole night. And I woke up the next morning and I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. I thought potentially I shouldn't talk with this man who might have negative intentions, or was it wrong of me? And I asked my guides or my helpers or my higher consciousness several questions of why I didn't sleep and why was I thinking about this man? Why was he in my mind all the time? And I asked the most ridiculous question of all. I asked, is this man Edward? Thinking, of course it's, and the answer came back as yes. And I said, oh my God, it can't possibly be. And I asked, I mean, maybe I don't always trust myself, but I asked about another 20 times and the answer kept coming back as yes. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? I was a nervous wreck until our Zoom meeting the following week. And the night before our Zoom meeting, his soul came to me and said, you have to tell him that he's Edward. And I said, I can't possibly do that. He's going to think I'm crazy. This is all too bizarre and weird. I can't possibly do that. And it was thinking about it. If I did that, I thought about it all day. And I thought, Luisa, you preach this stuff. You preach passion and you preach freedom and surrendering and vulnerability. And as I said earlier, we're moving into the heart chakra. And I had a choice. I knew I had a choice. I had a choice to choose love or to choose fear. I could surrender. And I know it's so hard to surrender, but sometimes in the surrendering, we have to free fall backwards to open the door for new portals of possibilities. And I contemplated. And so we got to our Zoom meeting, we talked, and at the end of the conversation, I was so nervous. I said, look, there's something I have to tell you. And I told him. And I realized after I told him, it didn't matter what his reaction. I would have liked his reaction. I didn't do it for him. I did it for me. And it was the most empowering thing, not now, but since then, that I've ever done in my life, because I surrendered to my vulnerability and I surrendered to my truth. And there's such a freedom in that. And I honored myself. And so often when we learn to love ourselves, we give away our love by relying on another to approve of us, to give us love. But the ultimate relationship in our growth, moving to a 5D, is that we learn to love ourselves and not necessarily to rely on another person, a place, a thing to offer us love or comfort or happiness or joy, because the ultimate joy and happiness and love and universal truth can only be found with a relationship with ourselves. But having said that, he did say that's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever said to me. And if I could jump on a plane now, I would. But with the current climate, there's international travel restrictions. So just a follow up on Edward, that was in May. There's still no travel restrictions. There it still is travel restrictions, but we do speak a lot. And for me, it's been a beautiful growth period. And I realized, talking about the heart chakra and relationships and a 5D reality and the fourth spatial dimension, love and relationships, whether they're relationships with lovers, enemies, friends, yourself. I define it now as intimacy. So into me, I see. I broke it down. Into me, I see. And I've learned so much about myself. I've learned to remove fear. I've learned to not worry about having a broken heart, because I've had broken hearts in the past. I've been fearful of having them again. But I've realized if it ever happened, it'd be worth it, because last time it happened, I realized not to be afraid. Now I was afraid before, but I was transformed into a new version of me. So often we're fearful of suffering. But if we can take the risk and take a leap and take a jump, our heart can only grow stronger, and we can only go stronger. Looking back, whenever we've experienced suffering, while of course we wouldn't want to experience it, we always look back and say, wow, I grew a lot then. So the into me, I see. I've removed a lot of fear. And I always say fear is the destroyer of dreams, and fear will stop you from moving to a fifth dimension. Fear is a very, very low vibration, and fear grips you when you least expect it, and it's all consuming. But the death, there's a famous saying, and I forgot I'm not going to quote, I can't remember who quoted it, but when you embrace your fears, the death of fear is certain. And I know that for now. So back to the into me, I see, or the intimacy. I've grown a lot. I've learned a lot. I've learned to accept myself a lot more. To be myself, he said to me once, be yourself. It's liberating. Why wouldn't you? It's liberating, like dancing in the rain. And it's so true. And it is liberating. And there's an ultimate freedom in trusting yourself and opening your heart to vulnerability. The beautiful saying is, when your heart cracks open, that's where the light shines in. It's also opened my psychic abilities, which is really interesting. I have also learned the difference between his soul and his personality is very, very different. Our souls are simplified. Our souls are pure love, and the personality that we bring with baggage of lives and lifetimes is so different from the soul. It's so complicated, and he has such polarities in his personality, which is quite amusing to analyze and observe. He's so loving, but with some people he can be so unloving, and he's so generous and kind, but sometimes he can be so unkind. But I've seen his heart, his true heart, and I know how beautiful it is. So that's been a really interesting observation. And I know I don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to touch on, I also had this vision of Edward, I'll call him Edward, and I in a black space. It was a huge void and it was dark, but you could see everything. And we were like two children giggling. And I knew it was Edward, his soul, and I was a soul. And this made me realize how excited we are to come back to this life. Well, not everyone, but many people are excited to experience this life. Our soul jumps for joy, and we were giggling and laughing, and he kissed me on the cheek and he said, "Luisa, come and find me." And then he jumped. And the next moment, I'm above his hospital bed on the ceiling looking at his birth. And I knew that I was then his guide during this time. I was his main spirit guide for at least 3 years. And just before 3 years, I was told that I had a choice to come to this earth to be born in my humanness, and to potentially take up the challenge to find him. So not only am I remembering the future, I'm remembering the past, if you want to talk about it in linearity. And I remember being in the womb, and I was shocked because I know that he nearly died, and I energetically came back. And I was angry. I wasn't angry. I was upset that the guides weren't looking after him well enough, and he had potentially nearly died. Again, I was asked, would I like to be one of his guides or come back to be born? And I was also told my mother had several miscarriages before she had me, and it wouldn't have been uncommon for her to have another one. But I'm here, so I guess I chose to come back, not only to take up the challenge of meeting Edward, but for my own soul's growth and purpose and suffering and loves and joys, and being the Luisa that I am right here and now talking to you. And I asked him one day, I ask him lots of questions. He must think I'm crazy, but no, he doesn't. I said, I just wanted to ask you, did you nearly die when you were 3? And he said, yes, I did. And I couldn't believe it. So I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to tell you another tale. And he also said, I'm 4 years older than you. And I didn't know that at the time. So relationships and heart openings and intimacy is so fundamental to our growth and our development. And this also relates to passion, which is what I'm all about, and following your passions and following your joy and following your truth and following what feels right and true for you. You can never go wrong on this soul's journey. It's so important to do what lights you up and do what makes you feel good, and not to be constrained by fears. I see so many people that are fearful to leave an unhappy marriage, fearful to leave a desperately unhappy career and job. And I do understand we have responsibilities, fearful to love, fearful to be free, fearful to die, but fearful to follow their passions, fearful to jump for joy, fearful to meditate in public. That was me once. But I would say be afraid of the unlived life. Be afraid of the half-lived life. Would you want it that on your deathbed you said to yourself, I never stopped to find my passion, and I never stopped to watch the sunset and look at all the colors, and I never licked that vanilla ice cream down to the bottom and savored each moment? No, it's so important to follow your passion, and your passion is in fact your soul connecting with you. This is your guidance system. It's so simple and it's so easy, but we so often get caught up in these constraints of our birth, of our society, of our lives and our past lives, never realizing that we can actually be free if we choose to be free. We choose our freedom. We choose our passions. We choose our joys. And I would say to you, live a full life, live a passionate life. I know I'm almost out of time, so I'll just give you a couple of questions that I would really encourage you to ask yourself. You can always contact me at Passion Harvest. Just Google it. You'll find the YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and of course my website, passionharvest.com. I do offer mentoring as well and soul harvest events, but I would encourage you to ask yourself a few simple questions. What experiences do I want in life? And these are not goals. These are experiences. I'll give you an example. I'm just making some up randomly. I want to dance naked in the rain. I want to feel freedom. I want to jump out of bed and be excited for the day. So what experiences do you want in your life? The second question is what am I good at? It doesn't have to be a career. Things start small. When I started Passion Harvest, and I'm blown away by the success of it, I didn't have the end goal in mind. I followed each step. Little by little, I followed the breadcrumbs. It made me feel good. I promised myself that I would live a full life. So what are you good at? I could say I'm good at interviewing people. I'm good at mentoring. I'm good at surrendering, even though I don't always like it and it's challenging. I'm good at embracing my fears. The third question is, what am I passionate about? This might take time. I mean, I'm passionate about so many things. I'm passionate about loving. I'm passionate about serving. I'm passionate. I mean, of course, I'm the passion ambassador. I've got a whole list of passions. But have a think about it. So often I even ask clients, what are you passionate about? What do you want? What do you want? And many people don't know. And it's very hard to hit a bullseye if you don't know the target. The universe will move mountains to achieve what you say to yourself and what you want. But you have to get crystal clear on what it is you want. And the fourth one, and I'm almost out of time, what is it you want to change in the world? What do you want to change in the world? And this goes back to be the navigator, the author of your story, and create a life that you want, create a world that you want. And it starts small. It starts with one person. And when you change your life, you change all those around you. And have patience. Thoughts sometimes take time to catch up to the physicalness of life. So I just want to thank you so much for listening to me. And I look forward to connecting with you all. Hi, you're back.
Oh, unmute. Okay, hello. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Oh, that was so moving, so touching, and so inspirational. We really appreciate having you here.
Good. Well, thank you so much.
Yes. And
it's been a delight and pleasure, a passionate pleasure. So thank you very much.
You're so welcome. And thank you for joining us from your time zone as well.
Good. And good luck with the rest of the talks. I can't wait to see them all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luisa. Everyone, please check out Passion Harvest. It is amazing. And it just blows your mind every time Luisa speaks.